Hi.
Hello,
Hi, beautiful
we're
Miruna.
back.
We are back. It's
We're
been
here again.
months, I believe we have started because it's our episode 8. I believe so.
Yes,
Crazy, yeah?
yes. Wow. Yeah, I can't believe it
Um,
flew by.
yeah,
Time flew.
really, really. Yeah, it was so much fun. I love that we meet every week, that we're able to, share such beautiful content. It's such a beautiful event for the week, like you get uplifted by it. It's exciting. And I'm
Yeah,
glad,
yeah,
on the same page on this. All
totally.
right,
I get
so
filled
let's
with
dive
joy.
in. Sorry?
I get filled with joy when our day is coming up. So, and also it excites me that we do know what we're going to address, but never actually know where the flow and the inspiration will take us. So
Exactly. I
that's
love
really
it.
nice.
It
Yeah,
fits well or for now for us.
yeah.
I love it. So let's dive in. On this episode, we spoke last week about as we were talking around how why people hurt people, what is this definition of hurt, or how do you actually live being hurt? What is the experience in the mind, body, and soul? And then we discuss how to express it properly or in a healthy way, right? So as we were discussing around all those topics, obviously vulnerability came up, right? So I felt like our next theme would be about vulnerability. So to start it off today for this mini series, I thought about touching base with what is vulnerability exactly, right? And we'll see if we can move forward and say why actually is important to allow a vulnerability to show up. So I'm gonna let Miruna start off with this beautiful topic.
Thank you, my dear one. What is vulnerability? I haven't asked myself. I've listened to what is vulnerability from many standpoints. What is vulnerability? In my perspective and experience, the ability to open up
Yeah.
our thoughts,
Okay.
bless you, to open up our thoughts, experiences, emotions, inner universe, and transparently share it, feel it, allow ourselves to feel it. So it's kind of like initially inside with our own selves, in our own inner world, just allow to see, to feel, to hear what is there, what is actually there. And then vulnerability with another would be the capacity and the ability, the willingness to open and share some of this inner world in different degrees and in different timings with another or with others, I would say. That is vulnerability.
I love it. I love it. Yeah,
How is it for you?
I think it's along the same lines in the sense that there's different degrees. Like you said, I think I see a spectrum of where are you at and where you're willing to allow yourself to be vulnerable. But I think we are all aware of our own. We're already available with ourselves, right? Like in the sense that you're the one having your thoughts. You're the ones, whether you say, "Oh, I'm hurt," or whether you say, "Oh, I don't feel like I'm enough." You express it in a way or another with yourself. So like you cannot like a lot of people hide, and that maybe one day we can discuss about how humans have a tendency to hide even from ourselves, right? But let's take it for this example. We can only be honest with ourselves. Like this is the mind going on with yourself. So I feel like vulnerability is this extra step when it's actually becoming a communication of the feelings, the emotions with another person, whether it's a person that hurts you, whether it's a friend, whether it's just I don't know, a pastor, somebody you want to confess to, anybody,
Mhm.
just another being,
Mhm.
human. Why, for me, I think it's towards another human being because if you talk to a dog, an animal, you feel already more comfortable because you know that they don't comprehend the words that you're talking the same way, even if they can
Yeah.
comprehend your energy. I mean, what makes it a vulnerability in this case is the admittance, is be willing to step into this discomfort and admitting feelings or thoughts or emotions that you feel that they seem fragile, will make
Mhm.
you look not certain of yourself, or make you step out of the usual image that you give off in a social, um, societal, society environment.
Mhm.
The thing that steps you out of your comfort zone and makes you feel very naked or just partially naked.
Mm.
I think that's for me would be the definition of the vulnerable side towards another human being. Why? Because a human being is where you understand each other. That's where you connect. This is all the beauty of a community, but all at the same time, it's all the
Yeah.
hurt that is being built. You know, you're not being hurt by animals, you get hurt by human beings. You know what I mean? So there's like this
Yeah.
bond and this shyness, and sometimes this um all the emotions are being built up around this synergy of human beings. So for me, vulnerability would be getting out of your comfort zone, admitting. When I say admit, right, say something like, "Oh, didn't realize I was sensing it," and I'm admitting that I'm saying something that I wouldn't say usually to the other human
Mhm.
being,
Yeah.
and make it happen with a human being. So making you feel bare naked, uncomfortable, but still you feel deep down that it's the truth.
Yeah.
But like you said, Miruna, I think it starts from within. I think if you're not allowing yourself to admit it to yourself, how can you possibly admit it to others and allow
Yeah.
this vulnerability to show up?
Yes.
And I think that's why we need guidance for that, because that's what we call unawareness, right? That's what we call when you grow in self-awareness, you grow into understanding more and being able to actually verbalize what you're experiencing. Why is it so important to verbalize or actually know the verbs for it? Listen, you can call it potato, ash brown. It doesn't matter in the sense of what you're experiencing. It's just to allow yourself to experience it with someone else. And we live in a world where there's communication language for now. We can talk about other communications
Yeah. Yeah.
perhaps one day. But just to start off, just for the sake of this episode, learning to verbalize it just not only going to allow other people to understand you, but going to allow you to understand yourself for a first step. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you feel it already. Yeah, you're already feeling it inside of you, the hurt, the blame, the guilty, the guilt, the pain, whatever. It's just that you didn't take the time to actually put words to it and actually
Yeah.
try to see how you can surf through it, right? So I think that's where vulnerability shows up, definitely. I mean, it is at the beginning, if you never, I'm not gonna say never, if you rarely showed up in your vulnerability, the first time for sure is like, it's like, jumping off a roof, psychologically
Like
speaking,
you'll do anything else but that. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like you're gonna, and your ego and your verbal and your brain's gonna use all of the excuses around it to show up strong in an argument,
Yeah.
except that, except admitting that. It's
Yeah.
crazy, guys.
Isn't it
Crazy.
amazing?
Such a self-defense mechanism.
Yes. Yes. And
Um,
what are we defending from?
I think the inner child, the fragility, or what we believe it's a fragility, right? To make ourselves, and I think it's been built up in our subconscious or paradigm or programming. We've been taught this way because from such a young age, there's a rapport, like a relationship of force and strength. Force, if you show up strong in a community, whether it's for men, whether it's for women in different ways, we're put up in this type of dynamic where you have to show up in a good image, where vulnerability is not actually put forward or encouraged from such a young age.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, as a toddler, as going to school, as what they tell you at school, or what they tell you at home, right? Like, oh, somebody pushed you,
Definitely.
don't let them. Don't
Push back.
somebody told you, somebody
Hit
pushed
back.
you should go back to them and say, I forgive you. You hurt me when you did that. No, they show you how to retaliate, right? So it's really
Yeah.
inbred and very
It is
down
ingrained.
ingrained in our subconscious.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, I think it's like a feeling of going to war without any armor, defenseless. A feeling of being naked and giving that to the opponent, which is not an opponent, obviously, and that they could use that against you to even
Yeah.
shut you down even more. You're already in a fragile space, but you're putting yourself up with a lot of armor, defense mechanism, your
Yes.
ego excuses. Then taking that out, you feel even more vulnerable in this sense, even more defenseless, and that can be used to even scratch you even more.
Yes.
That's what I've experienced. That's being a very X strong ego excuse, not vulnerable, showing up person, and that's why I do really love this stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Is that what showed
can-
up for you?
I can totally relate to the idea of being vulnerable, being not okay. I can still remember how I was a sensitive kid. I was, artistic inclined, spiritual inclined, and emotional as well. So I would show my emotions. Like I would get sad, and I would cry. For example, in front of my mom, if I would cry, she would be like, "Why are you crying?" She would be so worried and would definitely, like, even with the gestures, would be like, "No, no, no, don't cry," or like, "Oh, you're crying now." I'm like, oh, so obviously the message is I should definitely not cry. She
Yeah.
certainly never cried in front of me or like in front of anybody. Maybe I don't even remember seeing her cry. Um, in any case, the idea was that crying is not okay. Like there's no reason, and make wrap it up quickly, get strong. And I also relate to this persona of not persona, just another side of me, my extroverted side of me, which was more like a um again, when I was artistic, when I was singing, when I was talking very confidently, very joyously, I would have a high energy. So I quickly learned this is the Miruna that this family prefers, and the other one, I better just go somewhere else in my room, or like talk with my friends, or just go in the garden and cry it out, because this is not a part of me that is welcomed, nor is it encouraged, nor is it healthy. Like all the benefits that I found out much later in my life of being vulnerable, which I kind of call them the gifts of vulnerability, um, I was unaware of. So for many, many years, I was in suppression, repression. Yeah, I kind of played in suppression, repression. Yeah, for that.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I love what you. It makes sense. It makes total sense. On one hand, you have people who got brought up like me, just my masculine sign, a masculine energy to show up strong because I was embodying this extrovert side of myself, this ability to talk, and I'm
mm,
taking space with growing up, and then I've been encouraged to do that because I kind of regressed from a very young age already the vulnerable side of it because of how my family grew. In their families, they don't know
yes.
what is vulnerable. They don't allow
Oh,
that, right? Even though
yeah.
we're gonna love each other and gonna be there for each other, they have not touched base with that in all their multiple family generations, right? So you're built up in this
Mhm.
way. And in another hand, people like you who are, and by the way, I am actually an empath and super sensitive, in other ways, like, the
Yeah.
emotional part of it. But see, I've embraced that when I actually got my awakening, right? So it's funny, and on your side, innocent child that you were just so truthful and honest about your emotions, and you just felt like crying. And on this example, this scenario, you've been encouraged and pushed to regress it and actually
Yes.
put it behind, hide it, or do it somewhere
Yes.
else. Don't make people uncomfortable with
Yes.
the story of
Yes.
emotions and your
Yeah.
vulnerability.
And
Um,
it's touching, I just want to mention that just because I love my mom dearly, I totally understand now that she was in pain when she was seeing me cry. Like this is how empathic she was, but not having the tools to just allow space or realize that like I'm gonna be okay in like 2 minutes. She just let me like a good cry, 5 minutes, I'm tops, then I'm gonna jump around and be joyful. But she was so distressed to because she didn't have the tools
yeah, yeah,
to emotionally, receive me and to emotionally communicate or stay in silence with me. So this is actually why.
yeah,
So I see it very compassionately,
yeah.
and actually I feel her love, her deep love behind her like, were you
Yeah,
crying? So just I wanted to mention it because sometimes in the past when I was younger I would judge my parents for that. I would be just judgy and I can't believe, they didn't, oh my God, I got over that, thank God. Like it's a part of my growing up and becoming more mature.
of
So,
course. It's very tricky
because you
because,
don't know.
and then we'll talk about that maybe in another episode because time is flying, flying. But in one hand, people try to actually show up vulnerably or share their emotions, and then the way they get received, whether for many reasons they receive it this way, the other person next to them is not being taught how to receive it, right? And we don't feel, so there's like a feeling of rejection almost, or a feeling of like, well, it's not being understood and it's not making me feel
Yeah,
better. So like very intricate as I'm talking with you, how, yeah, how to actually properly assess it with yourself, but how can we show up in the right timing, or with some people say it at some point. I hear people telling me things that I choose with whom I talk. I choose with whom I'm going to tell my secrets or be vulnerable with, because not everybody deserves it or understands it. You know what I
not
mean? And
everybody
it
can
makes me
handle it.
sad. Yeah, it
Yeah,
makes me
no,
sad,
not
but I
everybody can
understand where
handle
you're
it.
coming from. But so yeah, that's going to be an interesting subject to dive deeper about, how to actually learn to discern, what to discern,
Yeah,
how to verbalize it. How can we, what is the process from within, the internal one, the private one, and what is the process publicly with another
yeah.
person? How does the vulnerability translate? And see, one of my really good friend in her family, they're Christian family, so very close with their faith, very good Christian family type of, image that you want to display here. So they're really helping, loving everybody in that. But they don't embrace vulnerability. It's funny enough, that you see the difference here, like
No, no,
sitting
yeah,
down. Yeah,
I've
I'm
seen it
such
many
a
times. Yeah,
so
yeah,
sitting down and actually talk about emotions, and they really, really taught that. So when somebody would be cry, or even me when I cry with one of this good friend from her family, she admitted to me, she's like, I don't know what to do in face of emotions. Like it's like I'm compassionate, I feel you, but it made me like uncomfortable myself, and I didn't know what to do. But thus you still have, you still have this love for everyone, but you just don't, you just don't know. And
yeah.
another example, just yesterday, a friend of mine was not consulting, but being consoled by me. Like she had a very sad and challenging emotional situation happening. So she talked with me, and this person is very emotional. She has a heart close to her hand. She's really tender. She's not the extrovert side of me that's like strong in the public, in the sense, in this image, if you want to put it like that. So she's easily very like, oh, I miss you. Oh, I love you. She easily verbalized her affection, okay? And even the person who's very affectionate, she expressed that to me, the situation yesterday. She started crying, but just little drops, like a
Mhm.
little tears that just you hold on
Yeah,
and
she
it just
tears
one
up.
tears but away.
Mhm.
And I can sense her discomfort showing me up this side of her, not allowing herself to actually fully experience the pain or the sadness, whatever she was experiencing regarding the situation. And knowing her, she doesn't do it privately in her own room, right? So you see, there's repressed emotions in so many people
Yes.
of us,
Yeah.
not doing it in our own garden, in our own room, and not doing it publicly. I get the public. If you're not there yet, I get it. But we have to
Yeah,
express
of
it one way or
course.
another. We have to let the process go through. So I could see her discomfort into letting this process feel. And most people do that. That's why I'm talking about it here, is that she just wanted to change subject,
Yes. Shut
right?
it
She's like, oh,
down
I don't like
rapidly.
talking. I asked
Mhm.
her, yeah, why don't you talk about it? And she said, oh, I don't like talking about it because I don't want to think
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
person who's super affectionate. So it doesn't matter how do you carry yourself on an everyday basis. The vulnerability affects everyone. It's present for
Mhm.
everyone, every type of personality, every age. So that was very interesting as I was observing that.
Yes. Oh yeah, definitely. I love that so much, and as uncomfortable as it is for I think every single human being, it being the place of deep connection is why it's so crucial to stretch out the vulnerability muscle. Um, what I find sad personally is that obviously none of us really, the majority of us really don't feel completely masterful in being vulnerable. So we're going to be imperfect as we are vulnerable, as we are vulnerable, and as we receive the vulnerability of another. So we're not going to get it right first time, second time, and people shut down quickly, and some don't re-engage. And for me, for example, in an intimate relationship, if I notice that in the other, it gets me so sad, insecure, and just much more vulnerable, obviously, but just impuissant of it, powerless, because I don't think we should ever leave it as, well, I opened up and then you didn't receive me like I would have wanted you to receive me, and I don't feel listened. Listen, I don't think we have a choice. To have an intimate, deep, authentic relationship, you're going to need to muster the courage to come back again and allow us to find a way to be both vulnerable and honest and go into the depth so that our connection grows. You know what I mean? So there's the courage and willingness is our qualities that are, for me, a must, um, so that we don't let it be just, well, I tried and then they couldn't receive me, or it's like there's several tries. It's actually a learning, because really we none of us are perfect or really good at being vulnerable naturally.
Yeah,
So for that we really need willingness, and also willingness to get hurt in the process. I'm not talking about really getting hurt continuously on like huge levels, but you're gonna get, tu vas te faire égratigner. You're going to get scratched. It's
yeah,
not gonna be it's really gonna be uncomfortable at times, but as long as there's a benevolence and a willingness to keep open, it's perfect. If one or the other is like, well, you know what, I'm not gonna open because remember that time when I did, and
yeah.
then it wasn't received. Like, what do you mean? So it's like you put a stamp on it, like that's it. We don't. This is like killing a relationship for me. Like right there, if you made that decision, that you actually don't want to open more when it's a very important relationship, that's it. You actually are sentencing your own relationship, because we need to allow more vulnerability and more openness, and it just shows, bless you, that this is actually where we need to go more. But we need more tools, more communication, more compassion, more patience, more love, to both be uncomfortable as we get scratched by the waves of well, the little, sands and the coquillage. I don't know why I keep on speaking in French this morning. My brain is, I don't find words in English.
Don't worry, I get it. And
So
yeah,
that place, of connection, it's so,
so that's something we probably gonna touch base next episode about the importance of it and how to actually, what are the steps towards vulnerability
yeah,
for our experience. Obviously, there's
yeah.
no exact answer to
No,
all of
there's
it,
no,
right? Let us remember that. The perseverance. You're right. It's a really good point you brought up. We're toddlers. We're learning. So like you learn at the beginning when you were learning speaking, you said, the wrong words, or you get mixed up with certain words together, or the same way you learn a new skill for your job at the beginning, you're not that good. You've got to learn. So the same way is that you have to allow yourself to learn, and you owe it, not owe it because I know you don't like this phrase here, but I'm just saying this way that we owe it to ourselves. Like this vulnerability is actually shedding light on such a true, important part of ourselves.
oh
It's
yeah,
it's it's the essence of it all.
yeah,
We're definitely
yeah.
gonna discuss it
I
more
love
on
that.
this. Yeah.
Light in the core. It's basically the ultimate enlightening will naturally go there. Like you cannot leave a shadow that is charged in fear, because you can take to be seen, and also you cannot love fully unless you go there. And I know some people are satisfied with, like, I think
Yeah.
that kind of that's okay. Like, I'm good with that. No, I'm like, no, all the way or all in, or it's just like you're missing a whole chunk of a huge piece of yourself and or of the other, and of love and of abundance, because it's all energy, and it's like the treasure chest is there.
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
need to get it open. You don't have to take it all out in the same, all at once, but we need to
Yeah.
get every piece
They
of that
move.
jewelry from the
They
treasure
first move.
chest.
Because even when you regress it or pump it up and try to keep it in his chest, there's some coins or some treasures going to come out of it. Like it's just the pressure is building up,
Oh
and
yeah,
then it gets
oh yeah,
translated in something else. So what we're saying is that if we ignore this true part of us and not acknowledge it or express it or communicate it, it blows out in a way or another. And you are finding yourself in a very painful experiences. Like just it triggers a cycle of things when people say, oh, it comes back to me. I keep in pain with that. I keep
yeah,
in pain. I don't understand. Well, because there's the door of vulnerability that has
yeah,
to be opened.
yeah,
Acknowledging, learning the tools, the right thing, feeling safe. Of course, we have to
yeah,
do it in different dimensions, in different, scale
yeah,
as you get more and more comfortable into the. And then even when we are opening ourselves, because we have practiced and we are determined to persevere in our vulnerability, it's like if I don't want to discourage, but it's like if there's another layer of comfort of vulnerability, you know what I mean? Like
and there
we
will
get to this
be.
point, like, oh yeah, I can express that to you. But then there's another hurt or
There's
another wound or
another,
another
there's
layer that you're like,
layers.
oh, did you have to
Yeah,
say that on top of
yeah.
it?
There's layers.
It's inevitable for us.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, there's
And
layers. It's
it's
not to
it's
discourage, it's to be realistic that there are layers when we
yeah,
do this, for sure. And it does take a lot of
but it's like
perseverance. Yeah.
yes, the same way we
Yeah.
forgive. We said about how we feel about forgiveness and how it makes you uplifted and joyful and such in a high energy and high spirits. the same way that will make you feel this way after this vulnerability. We're going to talk about why vulnerability is seen as weakness, right? We talked a bit today about it, but how is actually your greatest strength. It's really your greatest strength. This is
Yes, it
such
is.
a powerful tool for not
Yeah.
only you, but people you love around you. You're going to inspire so much people.
Oh yeah.
And it's going to
Yeah.
call out and compassion that they've never seen out of them when you're becoming vulnerable in front
Yeah.
of them, you know?
Oh, I can't wait to talk
Um,
about that. It's the seat of power. Like it's the headquarters of in an empowered being. Because once you're open into that, full energy of your soul pours into your life and everything. And yeah, it's it's if you condition it, it's like I'm allowing myself to be vulnerable just if the other allows, says that or the other, or just, when they will do, you're basically limiting your own being. And I think in this lifetime it's crucial that we experience, it's like this thirst of experiencing ourselves fully open, and yeah, just allow the others to have the reactions or close down or even reject us. We're not going to stop opening or being true because the other ones are not reacting, they're making us uncomfortable. If we can
yeah,
brave enough to just take the rejection or the reaction of another and still be true, then our truth will be our highest value and we are free. That's where we are free, really. If not, you're just like in captivity and conditioned by like, okay, is this are they ready? Oh, they reject, oh, then I should like shut down. Why are you conditioning your own beingness regarding other people? No, if you be a truthful person, if this is who you are, be true, be honest, and be brave. Courage is a great virtue and super necessary for this project. You cannot go through it without courage. Gonna need a lot of courage for that. Yeah.
oh, I love this so much, Miruna. So we're gonna have to wrap it up because we could talk as usual for hours. And I
We'll
loved it. I
continue.
loved it. It was a beautiful introduction to vulnerability. And we shall see in the next episodes how to translate vulnerability, how to understand it, what are the different steps we actually, get in this process. We could also talk about mistakes to avoid, quote
Oh
unquote.
yeah,
Like I
my
don't know.
God.
There's so many, ways to
Oh yes.
become contents.
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
just allow you
The
to put
learning
your,
process. Yeah.
yeah, something that can help to truthfully. Another one that is like, Macy, I've tried, or Miruna, I've tried so many times to open up with someone, it just shut me down, it didn't work well. There's different signs,
Yeah,
there's
I can
different,
imagine. Yeah, because it's not gonna work from the first or second time. Yeah.
exactly,
You need to
right?
be courageous for this process. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right,
I
so
cannot wait. Thank you so much for the sharing. It really, my heart is beaming like with joy for this topic. I'm really happy we talked about this. And I can't wait to go a bit deeper next time. Yeah.
yeah. All right, thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank you, my dear
Next
one.
episode, guys.
Thank you all. We'll see you next week.